Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape. In this video, we're checking out the Rad Power Bike's RadRunner 3 Plus, so let's get into it. Before we get into the walk around, if you are looking to purchase a Rad Power Bike or say any of the other brands that we feature on the channel, we would really appreciate it if you use our links down in the description. It's a free and easy way to help support the channel and keeps us reviewing electric bikes like this one. We'll also include links to our popular electric bike accessories list, top e-bike brands page, and of course our electric bike discounts code page where we track all the deals on the electric bike brands that we follow. With that, let's get into the walk around. If you aren't familiar with our reviews, I'm going to go through all the specs. Then we'll get into some first-person riding footage. I'll talk about how the bike feels, how it performs, take it up our large hill climb test, and then towards the end of the video, I'll share some third-person riding footage and my concluding thoughts on the RadRunner 3 Plus. As I record this in May 2023, this is the latest and greatest RadRunner in the RadRunner fleet, I'll call it, because they do offer the RadRunner 2, their most affordable RadRunner, and then they also have a RadRunner Plus, not to be confused with the 3 Plus, that is a little bit more inexpensive than this electric bike. Let's talk about price. The bike you see here in charcoal is $22.99, but they recently released a new colorway, and it is called Boss Moss Green. And that color is for enhanced night visibility, as the coating uses crystal glass pigments to better refract light. So that's kind of an interesting thing. It does run 50 bucks more though at $23.49. And from my perspective, it says a lot that Rad Power Bikes is currently offering 3 RadRunner models depending on your budget. And I think that says a lot to the popularity of this electric bike because it's a lot of different things. It can haul cargo, passengers. It's kind of a moped-style e-bike. So it kind of blends a lot of different things. It has wider tires and it's a really fun electric bike. And what makes it extra unique, as I'll touch on a little bit later, is this adjustable saddle, which is actually a patent that Rad Power Bikes has on their RadRunners. When the passenger kit is installed here, it sits nice and flush, and that's something that you'll only see on the RadRunner bikes. Now for the walk around, I wanted to show you what you get if you just buy the bare bike. I'll show off all the accessories, the really cool accessories that you can purchase from Rad Power Bikes towards the end of the walk around. The only things that I did add here quickly were the wheel guards as well as the pegs. Those do not come. Otherwise, as you see it here, this is the bike that you get at $22.99. We did a separate video talking about all the differences between all the 3 RadRunner models, so you can check out that video in the top right-hand corner of your screen. But some of the changes that they made to this electric bike compared to their previous RadRunner models is a larger, roomier frame. They improved the comfort of that saddle and an extended rear rack, and it also has a higher weight limit. Speaking of weight limit, it is rated at 350 pounds for the entire bike and 120 pounds on that rear rack. With the introduction of the RadRunner 3 Plus, they added some new accessories, and that is the trailer and the Rad Trailer Pet Insert. And in my opinion, those accessories were of very high quality. They're meant to work with this electric bike. And then Rad Power Bikes also teased that this would be the first electric bike in their lineup to be compatible with their upcoming dual batteries. So I'm super excited to check that out when it finally releases. This bike is a one size fits most 28 to 37 inch inseam according to Rad Power Bikes, which equates to heights around 4'11" up to 6'2". I'm 6 feet tall when you get to the third person riding footage. The standover height is just 17 inches. And the bike itself is fairly heavy, as most electric bikes are, 75.5 pounds. With that, let's jump into all the components. For the first time, a RadRunner model has hydraulic disc brakes. These ones from Tektro, they perform really well. And I see these brakes on a lot of electric bikes, so I'm very familiar with them. Plenty of stopping power. They are paired with 180 millimeter rotors. Those rotors also are Tektro branded. On the front wheel, we have a quick release, which is really nice in case you ever need to remove the front tire. Say you get a flat or you just want to put it in the back of your vehicle. That makes it slightly easier than some of those bolt-on axles. For tires, we have Kenda tires. These are 20-inch by 3.3 inches wide, checkerboard pattern. I actually really like this tire size. Right around 3 inches is kind of a nice happy medium, offering some additional stability, but not being true fat tire bikes with 4-inch wide tires. And certainly this bike is going to be a little bit capable to take off-road if you choose to do so. You can lower the air pressure, but you also have a RST suspension fork, preload adjustment on the left, and a lockout on the right in case you want to lock out the front suspension. This RST fork has 60 millimeters of travel. I'll push on it so you can get an idea of what to expect. Certainly going to add some comfort on this electric bike. The RadRunner 3 Plus comes with plastic fenders, front and rear. We have the Rad Power Bike's front headlight integrated into the battery. I actually really like this front headlight because it offers some additional be-seen visibility with the halo along the edges. But as far as using it as the only light, if you're riding in complete darkness, I would opt for one of the higher quality rechargeable lights and put it on the handlebars. But this is a nice solid light from Rad Power Bikes that they've been using for quite some time. Moving on to the head tube, we have the Rad Power Bikes logo and the 4-bolt pattern that all of their bikes have. You can add a front rack, small basket, large basket, there's pet accessories, so many different options to customize this electric bike. Here's a look at the cables. They use a neoprene sleeve that is Velcro, makes the cables look a little bit more tidy. Maybe you could do a little bit better job with some of the cable wrapping that you can get off Amazon, but I think this is adequate. The cables come down underneath the frame right here, and you could remove this, say you need to access any of these cables. I think that's a nice clean solution. And I wanted to call out this piece here. This is where you would attach the optional USB charger from Rad Power Bikes, something that's unique to their Plus models, not the other RadRunner Plus, but this Plus model as well as the Rad City 5 Plus and Rad Rover 6 Plus. Moving on to the handlebars, BMX style handlebars. What I like about these is it puts you in a really upright riding position. Again, check out the third-person riding footage, but you can also tilt the handlebars either forward or backward depending on your preference. And it also gives you some decent real estate here for some accessories. Let's jump into the cockpit. We have the faux leather grips that you find on all of the other Rad Power Bikes and a lot of other electric bikes for that matter. If you find that they move around over time, you can upgrade to some Ergon roll-off Nexus grips that are locking. I really like those. Those are on our accessories page. Tektro hydraulic levers with motor cutoffs. Again, just some really nice performing brakes. And I believe this is the first time we've actually seen Tektro hydraulic disc brakes come on a Rad Power Bike. They've also used Nutty on some of their other Plus models. Included bell on the left side. Let's jump over to the right side. All Rad Power Bikes models come with right-hand twist grip throttles. That's what I personally prefer. And we have the Shimano 7-speed cis index shifter that we see on many electric bikes. It's a very common component. It's on the entry-level side of Shimano components, but in my experience performs just fine. To go down gears, you use your thumb right here, and to go up gears, you press here. Let's go ahead and turn on this display. So this is the dual display that's unique to their Plus models, excluding the other currently available RadRunner Plus. To turn it on, you hit the orange button here. Get nice rad on the display when you turn it on. And what I like about this dual display is it's super simple and they're very large buttons. So on the bottom right, this is a light button. The lights actually automatically turn on when you turn on the bike, but you can also turn them off. You have a battery bar on the right side, 10 bars to give you an idea of how much battery you have left. And of course, nice and large is your pedal assist level, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you also have this little walk indicator. If you hold that, that's going to turn on walk mode on this bike. And the display changes to show that you're in walk mode. We're in bright sunlight and the camera isn't going to do justice to how easy this display is to see even in conditions like this. In the top left-hand corner, we have trip time as well as trip odometer. Holding the pedal assist up and down at the same time will switch this information over to the current time and odometer. In the middle, front and center, we have miles per hour. And then you also have wattage listed in the bottom left-hand corner, which is very helpful to see. Moving down from the handlebars, I'll show you the branding Rad Power Bikes. On the down tube here, we have Plus on the wheels, and on the rear rack, RadRunner Plus. Overall, I think this is a very classy color, and when the sun hits it, you get a little bit of metallic showing through this nice charcoal paint. When Rad Power Bikes started releasing the Plus models, they introduced this semi-integrated battery compared to the Shark batteries that you see on many of the other models. On the left side here is the charge port. Be sure you don't accidentally stick your keys in there. The keyhole is right here on the frame, and turning this very nicely pops out the battery. It is a 48 volt, 14 amp hour battery. As of recording this, this is the standard capacity for all Rad Power Bikes models. It does have a battery indicator on this as well. Might be a little bit difficult to see it in the sunlight, but pushing this button will light up the bars that you have, also displayed on the screen. While I'm down here, I'll show you the Rad Power Bikes charger, and they've started including this new charger on some of their electric bikes, and I really like it because it has an orange cable, so Rad Power Bikes, but more importantly, it has this little case so you can mount this to the wall. It comes with screws, and you can simply put your charger in it, and that comes in handy. Another thing, in the accessories box, you'll get the usual toolkit that we see on many electric bikes, as well as some reflectors. But also what they included with the RadRunner 3 Plus is a terminal cover, and I'm really glad that they're starting to include this, at least on this bike, because if you ever travel with your electric bike, you're going to want to put this in where the terminals are on the RadRunner 3 Plus. I'll show you how that goes on. So I actually transported this bike over here, and I used the terminal cover because it was a little bit wet. So it goes in just like that and keeps your terminals nice and dry. Installing the battery is super simple. Just insert the bottom first. Of course, make sure you remove the terminal cover, but then push it into place. Getting down into the frame here, if you are familiar with the other RadRunner models, you can check out our other reviews, but this frame is significantly different, especially if you look in this area compared to those other models. This just looks a lot nicer as well, in my opinion. And of course, you have the nicely semi-integrated battery. There's a look at some of the cable management in the rear, and I would imagine they're housing the controller down here somewhere. There's a screw at the bottom here. It looks like that might be some easy access in case you ever need to do maintenance. I do like that they included bottle cage bosses right here. We have the same Welgo pedals that we see on many electric bikes. They get the job done, though if you want some additional color or grip, check out our accessories list. This bike uses a cadence sensor like all of the Rad Power Bikes models. Moving on to the rear of the bike, we have a kickstand, nice and burly, located out of the way of the pedals, the Tektro hydraulic disc brake. I like that Rad Power Bikes continues to think about safety and has a torque arm here. I already talked about the pegs. This does not come on the bike unless you purchase the passenger package, which I'll show you in a little bit. Another significant change is the saddle. Now I have to say, it does provide more comfort than the other RadRunner models. What's nice about this saddle, of course, is that it integrates really nicely with the rear passenger package. But if you find that you want a saddle that's more comfortable, check out our electric bike accessories list where I share the ones that I see most people purchase. And what's nice is on the RadRunner 3 Plus, you no longer need to also buy a seat post because this is a standard seat post. So say you do want to upgrade, you just need to purchase a different saddle. Moving on to the rear, there's a look at that rear fender. We have an integrated light right into the fender, and it does operate as a brake light and goes a little bit brighter when you hit the brakes, though in daylight like it is now with the sun shining on it, it's just barely visible. So that's something that's going to be more useful if riding at night. Again, you can purchase some brighter rechargeable rear lights if you'd prefer. In the rear is a 750 watt peak motor. Stay tuned for the first-person riding footage. We'll see how this performs. Rad Power Bikes was advertising that this climbs hills better than some of their other motors, so you can compare and contrast. For gearing in the rear, we have 11 to 34 teeth, and up front, we have a dual-sided metal 48-tooth front chainring. Really like that for enhanced durability. And not surprising, a Shimano Altus rear derailleur that we find on many of the Rad Power Bikes models. It's an entry-level Shimano component, but so many brands are including this. I have lots of experience, and for most recreational riding, it does just fine. To help prevent any damage from the chain, say you do decide to take this bike and do some light off-roading, they include this rear chainstay protector, neoprene that velcros on, and if you encounter any bumps, it's not going to chip your nice looking electric bike. Where the RadRunner 3 Plus and really all the Rad Power Bikes models shine are the available accessories. So let me show you what Rad Power Bikes developed for the RadRunner 3 Plus. Here's some of the accessories that you might want to consider on the RadRunner 3 Plus. This is mostly the new accessories that I wanted to show off, though you can buy some of the other accessories that Rad Power Bikes has now offered for years. Let's first talk about the passenger kit. Of course, we have the newly upgraded saddle, and it integrates perfectly with this rear seat. Now, of course, one of the main selling points with this moped-style electric bike is that, yes, you can ride it like a moped and have the seat nice and flat, maybe if you have a passenger in the rear, and then maybe if you're riding by yourself, or even if you do have a passenger up here, you can raise that seat height to get optimal leg extension. So the passenger kit comes with this rear seat. It does come with these pegs, as well as these wheel guards to keep anything from getting caught in the wheel. It does not come with the passenger bars that you might also want to consider, because then it gives something for your passenger to hang on to. And what I thought was really cool about the design of this seat is, of course, it fits into the Taillight maxi window, which I'll get to more in a little bit. So the way this installs is you put this on first, and then from underneath, you put this on, and then you have a tightening bolt. And this means that it's actually fairly easy to remove this seat. Say you ride with a passenger sometimes and then you want to remove it. If you have younger kids like I do, the Taillight maxi seat is pretty much a must, and a lot of electric bike companies are including this window. And while this is a expensive accessory, we use it all the time, and it's really nice that it works right out of the gate. There's no adapter plate needed. So first you line up the front and push it forward, and then it'll slide into place, and then this knob will actually tighten, and then there is a piece that releases and really locks it into place. Here's a look at the Taillight maxi installed, and we will be sure to link all of these accessories down in the description below, and if you decide to purchase any of them, that helps us out. So this is perfect if you have a younger child. Here's where it gets really interesting if you plan to haul cargo. This is the hardshell locking pannier. Has some reflectors on the side for increased visibility. Of course, it locks, which is awesome. Now, I'm not going to install this because, of course, it does inhibit you from putting a Taillight maxi on here. Basically, there is a rear plate, which is actually in the pannier right now, that gets installed on the rear of the bike. Just a note that this product is not specific to the RadRunner 3 Plus. Be sure to check out their compatibility charts on the product pages. But you simply install this on the side, and then the pannier clips in and comes with all the mounting hardware. And then, of course, you can have them on both sides. Next, we have the hard shell locking box, which goes on the top of the bike. Again, check the compatibility with other models. It locks, which is awesome. And this is extremely high quality. And look, we had the kids playing in here, putting in some of their own toys. But what's really cool is if I take this out, again, here is the mounting plate that you'd put on the rear rack. But then below it is a false floor, giving you additional storage. The max load on this is 15 pounds. Next, we have the console, or center console as it was referred to on the other RadRunner bikes, also lockable, and it offers a decent amount of storage. What they did with this is they made it slightly narrower, and I'm assuming that's so you don't rub your legs on it, or there's no chance of doing so while you're pedaling. And what's nice is it actually mounts right to the bottle cage bosses, so it's very easy to install, though of course, yes, you do lose a spot to put a water bottle. And then underneath, there is an additional clip which mounts from underneath. And the last accessory that I don't have with me, but I think is really cool, is they offer a fat tire lock, which goes in the rear of the bike. And that just offers additional security. Maybe you want to use a chain lock combined with the fat tire lock. It's also important to be aware with the console installed that you do lose some accessibility from that low step over height. So be aware if you're looking at that accessory. All right, that wraps up all the cool new accessories for the RadRunner 3 Plus. They'll all be linked down in the description if you want to help support the channel. All right, with that, let's see what this bike can actually do. Let's get out and ride it. All right, first person riding footage on the RadRunner 3 Plus. It's been a while since I've been on a new Rad Power bike, so pretty excited to test this bike out, see what the newly tuned motor can do. Our first test will be throttle only. It is fairly flat here. Again, all Rad Power bikes come shipped as a Class 2 electric bike, 750 watts of peak power with a top speed of 20 miles per hour, whether you're pedaling or using the throttle only. And as of recording this, Rad Power Bikes doesn't offer any Class 3 electric bikes. One thing to call out with the throttle, even in pedal assist level 0 here on the left, I do have access to the throttle, so something to keep in mind because that can differ depending on the electric bike. I have the speedometer app by Coolnix to compare speed with the Rad display. All right, here we go. Throttle only, 3, 2, 1, here we go. 10, 12, according to the Rad display, 15, 16, GPS is getting caught up. And there's 20 miles per hour, according to the Rad display, and there it goes on the GPS. And as expected, right at 20 miles per hour. Now, one thing to call out is the right-hand twist grip throttle is variable. So if you just wanted a nice and easy start, you can just give it a little bit of throttle. And actually, even with the full throttle, it's not going to really take off on you. Of course, that depends on how confident you are as a rider, but something to be aware of with that throttle. The question does come up whether you can ride an electric bike without any battery power. And of course, the answer is yes. It's just like riding an extremely heavy bike. I could probably shift up here into second gear and yeah, usually around 8 to 10 miles an hour at a leisurely cadence on flat ground is going to be doable, though hills are going to be a significant challenge. Let's go through the various pedal assist levels. I will start in first gear, pedal assist level 1. And one thing that I think is perhaps underappreciated about Rad Power bikes is just how accessible they are. Pedal assist level 1 is just perfectly tuned in my opinion, especially for new riders. Now, some of you might not care about that, but I think a lot of people do, and it's maybe something they don't think about when they're purchasing an electric bike. I went up to second gear. Again, still pedal assist level 1. Could maybe go up to third gear. I like a little bit of a slower cadence. Third gear, pedal assist level 1 going nicely at 9, 10 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 2. Again, just barely feel the motor giving me a little bit more power, eases it on very nicely. I could go up to fourth gear, maybe even fifth gear, going about 12, 13 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 3. Feel the motor a little bit more there. 16 miles an hour, 17 miles an hour. I would probably ride in sixth gear here. Going about 18 miles an hour, getting very close to that 20 mile per hour top speed. Pedal assist level 4, and yeah, 20 miles per hour. Sixth gear, I can maybe go into seventh gear, depending how fast I want to pedal. But sixth or seventh feels pretty good. So even in pedal assist level 4, there's a good chance that you're going to hit that 20 mile per hour top speed, which means that pedal assist level 5 is likely going to be reserved for perhaps hills, terrain that's not flat, maybe starting from a stop just to get that extra power to get going if you want to really accelerate a lot faster. I'll actually start in pedal assist level 5 here so you can see how fast it gets up to speed. And There's the cadence sensor kicking in, and 10, 13, 15, 16, and 20 miles per hour. And not surprising that the gearing is really well tuned for what the bike is capable of or stops at 20 miles per hour. This cadence, I'm not ghost pedaling. Another thing I just wanted to briefly touch in, I am in a more optimal riding position with the seat height extended so I can get more full leg extension. Of course, that's going to be my preference on how to ride this bike, unless maybe I'm just throttling around. All right, so we know how this motor performs on flat ground. Let's see how it does up our large hill climb test. I wanted to call out just quickly as I was riding over here, I did notice a very faint but high-pitched sound. I'm not sure if that's coming from the controller. Just something I noticed. If you own a Rad Power Bike Plus model and you've noticed this as well, let me know down in the comment section. All right, let's get into the hill climb test. This is the hill that I test out all the electric bikes that I review on the channel. We'll put a picture up on the screen of the hill as well as the specs so you can get an idea of how big it is, because it looks so much smaller on the GoPro. And our first test will be throttle only. Now, this motor is tuned differently compared to the other RadRunner models, at least according to the company. And I'm kind of curious if this is going to impact the minimum speed. You can check out the other reviews we have of the RadRunner, Plus, as well as the RadRunner 2. And you can look at how they did up this hill. Now, keep in mind, I am a lighter weight rider at about 145 or so pounds, and the hill's starting right now, 14 miles an hour, 13, 12, and I can see the wattage on the screen is just pegged at 750 watts, 10 miles an hour. Now, this isn't a scientific test, of course, because the other RadRunner frames are a little bit different. Perhaps tire pressure could be a little bit different as well. And this is about what I expect for a motor that peaks at 750 watts. And it looks like 10 miles per hour is going to be the minimum speed. So if you don't plan to pedal this electric bike, it is somewhat capable of getting up hills, though these are electric bikes after all. So more than likely, you're going to be pedaling them. So I'm going to go back down the hill and do the test while pedaling. Coming down the hill is always where I like to test out the brakes, and I'm very familiar with these Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, and no surprise, they perform just fine. I got up to about 30 miles an hour according to the GPS. These are among my favorite hydraulic disc brakes that I find on, let's call it, more affordable direct-to-consumer electric bikes. All right, let's get started with the hill climb test while pedaling, and I'm going to shift all the way down into first gear. Now, I imagine I'm going to quickly want to go up into higher pedal assist levels, just how the bike is kind of tuned in the pedal assist levels as I demonstrated when I was riding it on flat ground. All right, pedal assist level 1, first gear. It says we're using about 80 watts according to the display. And yeah, I'm working pretty hard. I might be able to do it, but I'm gonna be pretty winded at the top of the hill. So you could maybe conserve some battery and go in first gear and get a workout, but more than likely you're going to go into a higher pedal assist level. I'm in pedal assist level 2 now, some relief there, using about 140, 150 watts, going about 5 miles an hour, still in first gear. I'm gonna go ahead and go into pedal assist level 3, 1 and 2, you don't feel like a significant difference. 3, you definitely feel a little bit more. There's about 380 watts. And I could maybe go into second gear here, but it's going to be a slower cadence and still working a fair bit. So just shy of 400 watts. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 4. 8 miles an hour, 500 watts, just over 500 watts. 9 miles an hour, and likely most people, if you're riding an electric bike, you might want to get to where you're going a little bit faster. So pedal assist level 5, and yeah, I'd shift up here. 3rd, 4th gear, going about 11 miles an hour. We're using the full 750 watts, not surprising. And 4th gear feels like a very comfortable cadence. If I was commuting and had to go up this hill a lot, that's exactly what I would do. Pedal assist level 5, use the full power of the motor, and 4th gear, maybe 3rd gear, depending on how fast a cadence you want to pedal at. And going up the hill, no problem. 13 miles an hour, right around there. All right, with that, let's get into some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Rad Power Bikes RadRunner 3 Plus. Rad Power Bikes took a crowd favorite, the RadRunner, and made it better from front to back, albeit at a higher price point. At $22.99, there are a massive amount of other e-bikes one could consider. This also makes the RadRunner 3 Plus the second most expensive e-bike in the Rad lineup. So you're unquestionably paying a bit extra for the Rad name, US-based support, helping to support their growing Rad retail stores, and perhaps more importantly, the unique design elements of the RadRunner 3 Plus that makes it stand out from other e-bikes. And for those who want to still have the great functionality of a RadRunner but don't want to spend a lot, the RadRunner 2 and RadRunner Plus are available for $14.99 and $19.99 respectively. Both solid options in my book. Let's unpack the reasons I think the RadRunner 3 Plus is a solid choice for many riders. First, the 20-inch tires means the bike sits lower to the ground and also helps determine the rest of the frame geometry. For this bike, that means a standover height of 17 inches for increased accessibility with its V-shaped step-through frame. It's simply a smaller e-bike that's less intimidating than, say, a Rad Rover. The BMX-style handlebars are nice because they can be adjusted, and I love the functionality of the saddle. Lower it for more of a moped-style feel with a passenger, or alternatively, if you feel more confident being able to easily put your feet down. And as you please, you can raise the seat height for ideal leg extension. Simply something you won't find on any other moped-style e-bike. Overall, Rad really delivered on a more refined looking RadRunner with the RadRunner 3 Plus design. At least for me though, what makes the RadRunner really shine is its utility. Great for passengers, both for young and lighter weight adults. We're always riding with our kiddos, but often other cargo as well. The RadRunner 3 Plus is compatible with a ton of accessories, and Rad Power Bikes continues to surprise us with not only the breadth of accessories, but also the quality. The locking storage boxes I showed off earlier being the perfect example. I won't dance around the fact that they're expensive, but if you plan to use your e-bike as much as we do, it's worth it. Beyond the utility, the RadRunner 3 Plus delivers on exactly what we've come to expect from a Plus model Rad Power Bike. Higher quality Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, basic 7-speed drivetrain, the dual screen LCD displays, semi-integrated battery, and 750 watt peak motor with a top speed of 20 miles per hour while pedaling or while using the right hand twist grip throttle. On the plus side, the pedal assist levels, which are engaged with the cadence sensor, are excellently tuned. That's the case across all Rad models and is something I appreciate having ridden close to 100 e-bikes. The average size 14 amp hour battery is good for up to 45 miles according to Rad. Be sure to subscribe if you're curious about Rad's upcoming dual battery option. So is the RadRunner 3 Plus a great e-bike from my perspective? Not only is it a great e-bike, it's super fun too. The main considerations are the less than powerful than most motor, which again is by design from Rad Power Bikes. This of course is to keep their e-bikes accessible to the masses and stay comfortably within the current regulations, the average size battery, and yes, price. After you undoubtedly accessorize a RadRunner 3 Plus, you're looking at a mid $2,000 e-bike or even more. Even still, I know the benefits of this e-bike will outweigh the cost for some, and if you're one of those folks, then we'd really appreciate it if you use our affiliate link down in the description. Thank you so much for your support. Let me know your take on the RadRunner 3 Plus in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.